What if I told you some people are ordered to wear the same underwear for months, and it's not by choice? Or that a casino, with all its high-tech security, was hacked through a fish tank? And here's one that might make you rethink your shower routine. Did you know using hair conditioner in certain situations could be extremely dangerous? Sounds crazy, right? But these are just a glimpse of the shocking facts ahead. Stick around, because what you're about to learn will blow your mind. Number 35. A team of Arctic researchers set out to measure just how fierce the local mosquitoes could be. They removed their protective clothing, expecting a few bites. But what they faced was beyond anything they imagined. Up to 9,000 mosquito bites per person, every single minute. At that relentless rate, an unprotected person could lose half of their blood in just 2 hours. The experiment didn't last long, but it uncovered a staggering truth. These tiny invaders are far more relentless than anyone thought. Number 34. The German soldiers were used to the roar of enemy aircraft, but something about these nighttime raids felt different. There was no warning, no distant engine hum, just the eerie whoosh of gliding planes before bombs rained down. The Soviet pilots behind these attacks were no ordinary airmen, but an all-female regiment, striking under the cover of darkness. They cut their engines before reaching their targets, but the silence made them even more terrifying. Therefore, German troops began calling them night witches, believing their stealthy approach sounded like broomsticks sweeping through the sky. Number 33. The roar of the crowd filled the Olympic Stadium, but this time, something was different. Athletes had always competed in simple loincloths, but one runner, Sisyphus, chose to shed even that. He sprinted across the track completely naked, but instead of shame, he was met with admiration. Therefore, his bold display became a symbol of Greek identity, raw strength, courage, and devotion to the gods. Soon, nudity in the games was not just accepted, but celebrated. Athletes even coated themselves in olive oil, not just for performance, but to showcase the power and perfection of the human body. Number 32. It started with a sudden crash. On April 25, 2017, the roof of a Pepsi warehouse in Lebedian, Russia, gave way. But instead of rubble and dust, a flood of fruit juice came rushing out. Millions of liters of cherry, pineapple, tangerine, and pomegranate juice spilled into the streets, turning the city into a sticky tropical disaster. 2 people were injured, but the real danger wasn't the mess, it was the Don River. Therefore, fears of contamination and environmental damage spread as quickly as the juice itself. But after a week of testing, scientists confirmed that the river had escaped harm, leaving behind only one lasting impact: a city that smelled like fruit punch for days. Number 31. It was meant to be a harmless joke, but it quickly spiraled into chaos. In 2016, Google introduced a special mic drop button as an April Fool's prank. The idea was simple. Users could end an email with a dramatic GIF of a minion dropping a mic. But there was a catch. Clicking it didn't just send the GIF. It also disabled replies, effectively cutting off the conversation. But the placement of this button was a real disaster. It sat dangerously close to the regular send button, therefore leading unsuspecting users to accidentally mic drop their bosses, clients, and even loved ones. Some laughed it off, but others weren't so lucky. One user reportedly lost their job, but by the time Google removed the feature, the damage was already done. What was meant to be a fun office prank had turned into a real-world nightmare. Number 30. Deep in the branches, tucked away from sight, a tiny nest holds something almost unbelievable. 2 eggs, no bigger than a jelly bean. Female hummingbirds rarely lay more than that, but their nests are marvels of nature. The black-chinned hummingbird, for example, doesn't just build a home, but creates a masterpiece. She weaves it from plant down and spider silk, but not for decoration. Therefore, as her hatchlings grow, the nest stretches with them, expanding like a living cradle, perfectly designed for the smallest birds in the world. Number 29. Most people grasp the size of a gigabyte, but data storage scales in ways that are hard to imagine. A petabyte, 1,024 terabytes, might sound impressive, but what does that really mean? To put it into perspective, a single petabyte could store 13.3 years of non-stop HD television. But scale that up to 50 petabytes, and you could fit every written work ever created by humanity across all languages from the dawn of recorded history. Therefore, as technology advances, the question isn't just how much data we can store, but what unimaginable feats this storage will make possible. Number 28. A single bad moment can overshadow an entire day of good ones. A compliment from a coworker might feel nice, but one sharp remark from a boss lingers much longer. The brain is wired this way, not by accident, but for survival. Negative experiences trigger stronger emotional responses, therefore making them harder to forget. One insult can drown out 5 compliments, but not because the positive moments don't matter. Rather, the mind holds onto the bad to protect itself, ensuring past pain isn't repeated in the future. Number 27. In the quiet corners of barns and stables, danger often hides. A black widow spider, small but deadly. When it strikes, cats and horses suffer the most, their bodies overwhelmed by the venom. But dogs? They face the same toxin with surprising resilience. And sheep and rabbits? Strangely immune, untouched by a venom that can drop a horse to its knees. Nature's defenses work in mysterious ways, where strength isn't always where you expect it. Number 26. A crumpled dollar bill lands on the counter, folded and worn from years of use. But unlike regular paper, it refuses to fall apart. The Bureau of Engraving and Printing tested its durability, but the results were surprising. 4,000 folds back and forth before it would even tear. Therefore, US currency isn't really paper at all, but a tough blend of 75% cotton and 25% linen, woven with tiny blue and red fibers. It feels like paper, but its resilience proves it's built to last. Number 25. The human body may seem like just flesh and bone, but beneath the surface, it's a powerhouse of energy. Every hour, it generates enough heat to power a 100-watt light bulb, but the real shock comes when you break it down further. In just 30 minutes, your body produces enough energy to bring half a gallon of water to a boil. Therefore, while you may not feel like a walking furnace, science proves that you're generating more heat than you think, enough to turn cold water into steam. Number 24. The sun sets, and your body knows. It's time to slow down, to rest. But in today's world, night doesn't bring darkness, it brings glowing screens. Phones, TVs, and tablets flood your eyes with artificial light, but your brain mistakes it for daylight. Therefore, instead of winding down, it stays alert, disrupting your natural sleep cycle. Sleep feels elusive, but the fix is simple. Put the screens away at least 30 minutes before bed. Let the night do what it was meant to do, signaling your body that it's time to rest. Number 23. For soldiers deployed in harsh desert conditions, comfort was a luxury, but hygiene was a challenge. Changing clothes regularly wasn't always possible, but wearing the same underwear for months? That seemed unthinkable. Until 2005, when the Ministry of Defense introduced a surprising solution. Soldiers were issued antimicrobial underwear, designed to be worn for up to 3 months without washing. But this wasn't just about convenience. The fabric was coated to prevent bacterial infections, therefore reducing the risk of illness in extreme conditions. Seams were carefully placed to avoid chafing, but whether soldiers embraced the idea or not, that's another story. Number 22. Every day, people go through countless routines without a second thought, but few realize just how much toilet paper they use. On average, a person goes through 57 sheets daily. This number isn't random, but influenced by personal habits, cultural norms, and even the quality of the paper itself. Therefore, toilet paper isn't just a household staple. It's a billion-dollar industry that constantly evolves. But with rising concerns about sustainability, companies are now racing to create eco-friendly alternatives that balance comfort with conservation. Number 21. Texas is big, really big. With over 260,000 square miles of land, it has room to spare. But what if the entire world lived there? If Texas had the same population density as New York City, the entire human race, nearly 8 billion people, could fit within its borders. But the numbers aren't quite that simple. Today's global population is growing, therefore, squeezing everyone in would now require spilling over into Arkansas. On the other hand, If the world lived at the same density as Houston, humanity would stretch across 2/3 of the United States. So while Texas has space, fitting the world inside would take some serious urban planning. Number 20. Deep underground, hidden within towering termite mounds, a queen sits motionless, but she is far from idle. Unlike the workers that scurry around her, she has one purpose: to produce life. A typical termite queen can lay 6,000 to 7,000 eggs a day, but some, like the Macrotermes helicosus, take this to an almost unimaginable level. One entomologist recorded a queen laying eggs at a relentless pace, one every 2 seconds. Therefore, if she never stopped, she could produce a staggering 43,000 eggs in a single day. She does not rule with strength or speed, but through sheer numbers, building an empire one egg at a time. Number 19. Audiences in 1960 thought they'd seen it all, but Alfred Hitchcock had other plans. In Psycho, amid the film's suspense and horror, he slipped in a detail no one expected: a toilet flushing on screen. At the time, this was considered too inappropriate for US films, but Hitchcock saw it differently. Therefore, he changed a key clue from the original book, a simple earring, to a scrap of paper discarded in the toilet. Its failure to flush wasn't just part of the plot. It was an intentional jolt, adding an unexpected layer of discomfort to an already unsettling film. Number 18. Imagine waking up not to an alarm clock, but to the blaring sound of a siren, dictating when to rise, when to eat, and when to sleep. It feels like a scene from a dystopian novel, but for the people of North Korea, it's reality. The siren system controls the rhythm of daily life, sounding off at 7 a.m. to start the workday, at noon to mark mealtime, and again at midnight to signal lights out. Therefore, every moment is regulated, leaving little room for personal choice, where routine isn't just a habit, but an order you can't ignore. Number 17. Brussels sprouts often sit untouched on dinner plates, dreaded by many for their bitter taste. But beneath that unpopular reputation lies a powerhouse of nutrition. They may be the world's most hated vegetable, but they're packed with vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Virtually no calories, no fat, and no cholesterol. Therefore, they don't just fill you up, they fuel you. Even more surprising, they contain antioxidants with anti-inflammatory properties that could help fight cancer. So, while your taste buds might protest, your body will thank you. Number 16. Imagine this. A housefly lands on your food, its tiny wings buzzing softly. But what you can't see is the real problem. Because flies live on a liquid diet, their digestion works fast. Too fast. Therefore, nearly every time a fly touches down, it's not just taking a break, it's also leaving behind a little gift. In fact, houseflies don't just defecate where they eat. They do it almost every single time they land. Add to that the fact they also vomit on their food to break it down, and suddenly that harmless little fly on your potato salad doesn't seem so harmless anymore. Number 15. In Japan, where manners are woven into the fabric of daily life, one dining habit might surprise you. At noodle shops, silence isn't golden, slurping is. But this isn't seen as rude, it's a sign of appreciation, a way to show the chef you're enjoying every bite. Therefore, the louder you slurp, the better. It's not just about etiquette, though. Slurping also helps cool down the hot noodles as you eat. So grab your chopsticks, lean over your bowl, and don't hold back. You might start with a bib, but soon you'll master the art of spotless slurping, even in a white shirt. Number 14. In 1816, something strange gripped the world. Summer never arrived. Snow fell in June, frost bit the ground in July, and crops withered under a sky that refused to shine. But this wasn't just bad weather, it was the aftermath of a massive volcanic eruption in Indonesia. The eruption had hurled ash into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight and plunging the world into an eerie chill. Therefore, it became known as the year without a summer. While farmers battled famine and fear of the world's end, a young woman named Mary Shelley sat by a gloomy Swiss lakeside. The dark, cold days stirred her imagination, inspiring her to write Frankenstein, a story born from a world that felt as lifeless as her infamous creature. Number 13. The brain is often seen as a powerhouse of thoughts and memories, but beneath its complex wiring lies an unsung hero, cholesterol. While most people associate cholesterol with heart problems, the brain tells a different story. It holds about 25% of the body's total cholesterol, but it can't rely on the bloodstream like other organs. The blood-brain barrier blocks outside cholesterol, therefore, the brain must produce its own. Unlike the rapidly shifting cholesterol in the rest of the body, the brain's version is stable, but when it finally breaks down, it doesn't go to waste. Instead, it's recycled, fueling the very processes that shape learning and memory. Number 12. When Ratatouille hit theaters in 2007, kids everywhere fell in love with the idea of a tiny, talented rat dreaming of becoming a chef. But the story didn't just stay on screen. Inspired by Remy's charm, children rushed to their parents pleading, "Can we get one? I promise I'll take care of it." Therefore, pet stores saw an unexpected boom. Sales of pet rats jumped by 50% after the movie's release. The rats may have come home with the kids, but we can't help but wonder how many quickly became mom and dad's responsibility. Number 11. In 2017, a Las Vegas casino thought its biggest risks were at the poker tables, but the real threat was lurking in an unexpected place: a fish tank. The tank wasn't just for show, it was connected to the internet, with smart sensors tracking temperature, feeding schedules, and water cleanliness. But that convenience came with a flaw. Hackers found their way in, not through the front door of the casino's security, but through the fish tank's network connection. Therefore, what seemed like an innocent display became the gateway to the casino's most sensitive data, proving that sometimes the smallest cracks let in the biggest threats. Number 10. Imagine reaching for a quick snack, just a handful of crackers. It's light, easy, but soon after, you're hungry again, maybe even a little irritable. But swap half of those crackers for a spoonful of peanut butter, and the story changes. Why? Because fats, unlike simple carbohydrates, digest much slower. Therefore, they stay in your stomach longer, keeping you fuller for more time. Crackers alone cause a quick spike in blood sugar, but that rise crashes just as fast, leaving you edgy and craving more. A little fat, like in peanut butter, balances it out, keeping both your appetite and mood in check. Number 9. Before every Major League Baseball game, there's a ritual that fans never see, but players rely on. Fresh baseballs are too slick, making them hard to grip, but water, dirt, even tobacco juice once failed to fix the problem. That is, until a special mud from a secret spot in New Jersey changed everything. This isn't just any mud, it's Lena Blackburn baseball rubbing mud, perfectly textured to give pitchers the grip they need without damaging the ball. Therefore, every MLB ball, from regular season to the World Series, carries a hidden layer of this mysterious mud, connecting America's pastime to a secret no one's quite willing to reveal. Number 8. People often believe that purebred dogs are rare in animal shelters, but the reality is surprising. 1 out of 4 dogs in shelters are purebred. You'd expect these dogs to find homes quickly, but many, especially pit bulls, never get rehomed. The assumption that buying from breeders or pet stores guarantees a better pet is misleading. Therefore, even purebred dogs end up surrendered, proving that breed doesn't determine behavior or loyalty. The truth is, every dog, purebred or mixed, deserves a forever home. But the cycle continues because puppy mills and overbreeding flood the system, creating more dogs than homes, leaving countless animals behind. Number 7. Charles D. Scanlon, a street painter in Los Angeles, grew frustrated. The wooden tripods used to mark roads were bulky, easily damaged, and constantly needed repainting. But instead of accepting the hassle, he saw an opportunity. Therefore, he designed a simple yet revolutionary solution: a durable rubber cone that could withstand the chaos of city traffic. Over time, Scanlon's invention became a global symbol of caution. But here's the twist. Despite their everyday presence, over 1 million traffic cones are stolen every year. A tool meant to control traffic has, ironically, become an irresistible target itself. Number 6. You slice into what looks like a perfectly uniform, juicy steak. But beneath that appetizing surface lies a hidden secret. Some of that beef isn't a single cut at all, but pieces bound together with something called meat glue. While it sounds like a kitchen horror story, in the US, it's still commonly used and even classified as generally recognized as safe by the FDA. But here's the unsettling part. Meat glue is made from bacteria found in cows' blood plasma. Therefore, not only does it raise eyebrows, but it also increases the risk of food poisoning. Bacteria can thrive in the tiny gaps between the glued pieces, and because it's harder to cook evenly, that perfectly seared steak might be hiding more than just flavor. Number 5. Surviving a nuclear blast is just the first battle. The real threat comes from the invisible enemy, radioactive fallout. This fine, deadly dust settles on everything, clinging to skin, clothes, and hair. That's why the first rule for survivors is simple. Strip off contaminated clothing, shower thoroughly, and wash your hair. But here's the catch. Never, ever use conditioner. Why? Because human hair isn't smooth. It's covered in tiny, overlapping scales like a pine cone. Conditioner's job is to seal those scales, making hair feel soft and sleek. But in doing so, it traps radioactive particles, locking them in dangerously close to your scalp. Shampoo doesn't have this effect. It simply washes the contaminants away. Number 4. At first glance, a shark's skin might seem smooth, but run your hand against it, and you'll feel something unexpected. It's rough, like sandpaper. This isn't because of tough skin, but because sharks are covered in tiny tooth-like structures called placoid scales, or dermal denticles. They don't just add texture, they're built for speed. These scales point backward, toward the tail, reducing water friction as the shark swims. Therefore, what feels coarse to the touch is actually nature's clever design for creating one of the ocean's most efficient predators. Number 3. High above the clouds, where there's no place to perch, some birds have mastered an extraordinary skill. They can sleep while flying. It sounds impossible, but for species like the alpine swift, it's a survival strategy. These birds don't sleep like humans. Instead, they use something called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. This means one half of their brain rests, while the other stays alert, allowing them to fly, navigate, and even keep one eye open for threats. Therefore, during long migrations, birds like the alpine swift can stay airborne for up to 200 days straight, catching quick naps mid-flight without ever needing to land. Number 2. For anyone trying to learn a new language, Mandarin Chinese presents a challenge unlike any other. It isn't built from familiar letters, but from thousands of intricate symbols. The average person in China recognizes over 8,000 of them. But even to read a simple newspaper, you'd need to know at least 3,000. But the complexity doesn't stop there. Mandarin relies on 4 distinct tones, meaning the same sound can carry completely different meanings depending on how it's pronounced. Therefore, mastering Mandarin isn't just about memorization. It's about training your mind to hear and see language in an entirely new way. Number 1. A world is unfolding where AI assistants won't just be common, they'll outnumber people. By 2024, forecasts predict 8.4 billion AI-powered assistants, surpassing the total human population. But this isn't just about numbers. It signals a future where AI becomes deeply integrated into daily life. Therefore, it raises questions about how this will reshape human interactions and highlights the astonishing speed of AI's evolution, from occasional tools to constant companions. That's all for today. Subscribe to our channel for more fun videos.